Welcome back, Fantasy Endgame fan, fantasy baseball players. It is Sunday night, and you know what that means. 2-star streamers plus answering your questions. Sure, you got a lot of them. Another week in the books, although we got one game going on right now, Red Sox Yankees, which used to be like must-watch TV. Now it's just kind of like TV, I guess. Gary, you still feel Red Sox Yankees. Is this the best rivalry in baseball, or is it now Yankees Dodgers?
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that. I think it's getting to be Yankees Dodgers. Yankees Mets actually has probably more appeal now because they're both really good. I think more people, rather than a Yankees Dodgers rematch, might prefer the Subway Series rematch from 2 decades ago. But yeah, I think it doesn't matter what decade it is. Yankees something will always be the prime appeal. Red Sox are still hanging in there, right? They're not the best this year, but they're still a rival. It still means something. And of course, to Yankees and Red Sox fans, but also to baseball fans, I think it's still always go. Look, no offense, but like the Tigers are really good this year, but I don't think Yankees or Tigers anyone is going to be quite the same. You know what I mean? Just doesn't have that appeal.
No, definitely does not. Yankees always, like, there's a certain teams and certain sports that always have that appeal, and the Yankees always have that appeal. But you're not here to hear us talk about that. You're here to hear us talk about some 2-star streamers and to get those questions answered. So let's jump right into it. And I feel like this guy was a 2-star streamer last week, but maybe sometimes these 2-star streamers don't make their second start and they become 2-star streamers again. But I'm actually just shocked that this guy is even on the list, because how is this guy even still out there in over half of fantasy leagues right now? Lance McCullers, yes, somehow still out there in over half fantasy leagues, even though he's had 2 monster outings in a row, 6 innings pitched in both outings, 3 earned runs, 0 earned runs, 19 total strikeouts in those 2 outings. And this week he gets the White Sox and the Twins. I mean, this guy's got to be up around like 80% roster by the end of this week, right?
He should be 80% rostered by now. I honestly, I think at this point in the season, especially, and like I still put him up there, right? The rostered rates and give you an idea. But it's sad but true, but mid-season, getting to mid-season, it's not mid-season yet, but getting there, it's dog days of summer. There's like a good maybe 20 to 30% of Yahoo League teams that are just not really active. Like they might still be changing their lineups, or maybe not dead, like they've completely forgotten about it, but they're not really going out and making waiver claims. So yeah, this tells me more, it's about the time of the year it is. If he was doing this in April, it would be 80 something percent, right? So I think that's part of it. I know every single league I'm in, he's taken. So that tells you something. The competitive leagues, and I'll try to tell you that too. Like, realistically, is he going to be available? He might be, but also I know some of y'all are in 8-team leagues, right? 10-team leagues, more shallow. Sometimes these players just aren't taken because it's more shallow player pool. But yeah, there's no excuse. And even before the last 2 dominant starts, like where he just looked good, even before that, he was just okay. His third start before that, he's got 27 strikeouts in his last 16 innings.
Yeah.
Like, just for that, right? Take him. But yeah, there's no excuse. If Lance McCullers is out there anywhere, just pick him up.
Yeah, just pick him up. Now, how about a guy I think a lot of people had high hopes for earlier in the season? It was a bit disappointing. Yeah, I guess he's been better of late. Talking about Yusei Kikuchi. I mean, he's definitely been better of late. He hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs in all of May, in any start in May or June. The downside here is he's only gone 6 innings twice in May and June. But he does have decent strikeout, right about a strikeout per inning here. And well, the other downside is he's an Angel. Although I don't know, the Angels are red hot right now, so maybe he can get some wins. But you got to like the schedule this week as well. The not so mighty Athletics in Anaheim, which is good because they're not in that minor league park, and then against Baltimore, who shockingly has, like, Baltimore and Texas have to be the 2 most shockingly bad offenses this year, right?
Yeah, and Baltimore it's getting a little better, but it's still far below our expectations. With Kikuchi, I always have a hard time trusting him ever. So what you're going to get with Kikuchi. Actually, a pretty solid ERA overall. A really bad WHIP. It's just not good. I think it's like 1.59 right now or something, because he just walks too many batters. but a decent amount of strikeouts. And so this is where it comes down to wins versus quality starts. For wins, I mean, I guess he has a shot this week because, like you said, the Angels are sort of hitting. A's and Orioles, not a bad schedule. As far as like our league, I know he's been out there. In fact, he was just dropped because we use quality starts, and he was looking great. 3 of his first 4 starts this season, he got a quality start, and now he hasn't had one for like 3 weeks because he just isn't going 6 innings. So I think he's got a chance to get back. I usually will be lower in Kikuchi. This is probably the week that you can kind of buy into him.
Yeah, I mean, that schedule, I think, at least makes him stream worthy. Of course, if McCullers is not out there, McCullers got to be the number 1 option. Now, another guy, I don't think people had high hopes for him to start the season, but then he started the season pretty nicely. Kind of hit a rough patch, but he's been pitching well again lately. That's Griffin Canning, former Angel pitcher, now with the Mets. So, there's always a chance to get some wins when you're on the Mets. But look, okay, the good news here, he went, from April 17th to June 4th without giving up more than 3 earned runs in any game. The bad news is the previous 2 starts before this last one this week, he'd only gone 2 2/3 in 3 innings. So 3 earned runs is a lot of earned runs when you're only pitching 2 or 3 innings. But somehow, against the Dodgers, 6 innings, no earned runs, 7 strikeouts. Well, what is going on here? Which Griffin Canning are we going to get? And he does have a great schedule this week. Nationals, I know they've been kind of hot, but they don't scare me. And the Rays on the road definitely don't scare me. So what are we getting from Canning this week?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that just kind of lulls you in. Finally, you're like, okay, you can trust me, and then the rug gets pulled from under you. Those 2 starts, where he got rocked, right? It's like just when you feel like he's solid, but not just because his last start against the Dodgers, where you're like, okay, this guy got lit up twice in a row, and now he gets the Dodgers again. Like, forget it. And of course, what does he do? The opposite of what you expect. But again, I'm looking at more like a blip, right? Those 2 starts, he was off, right? He wasn't going to be good forever. I will say there are some red flags. The expected ERA is still well above the actual ERA, but this week, the Nats who have cooled down and the Rays, I think he'll be fine. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt this week because he has been mostly good for really most of the season after his first couple of starts.
All right. Now let's go to a guy who hasn't made a start this year or last year. Has not made a start since 2023, but he's set to make his debut this week. That's Yuri Perez of the Marlins. Okay, we know he's a talented pitcher, and he's also got a great schedule this week, Pirates and Nationals. But realistically, first week back after not pitching since 2023, give us some realistic expectations for Yuri Perez this week.
Right. Some people will probably put him at the top of this list. Maybe behind McCullers, but yeah, people are just all excited. I get it, right? The arm talent. This is one of those guys who is exciting to watch because he throws so hard. He's got great stuff. He's still unproven in the majors. So we just think potential, right? Upside. He's got it. I'm not going to say he doesn't. And so again, maybe I'm being a little too cautious here, putting him kind of in the middle of this list because he has had a sort of extended rehab stint. He's been stretched out, right? The concern here is how long will he go? How many innings is he going to pitch? Because missed entire year, right? He hasn't been pitching for the Marlins for quite a while. How far are they going to stretch him? But they're like, well, okay, he went 6+ innings in the minors. He's had several rehab starts. But that doesn't mean his first time back in the Marlins uniform, they're going to put him for 6 or 7 innings. And also, he has to actually earn those 6+ innings by being good enough and having that command against major league hitters. So again, I don't think people are just very quick to equate, oh, he was great in AAA, he'll be great in the majors. It's not the same. It's not exactly the same thing. So I would say risk reward here, right? Your risk tolerance. He probably should be higher on this list just because his first start is against the Pirates, right? Like that's kind of like a AAA team. Let's just be honest. It's not that different. And then the Nationals, are decent. So you could put him higher on this list. Look, I know every league I'm in, he's not available, but rostered rate right now in Yahoo, 44%. So I know a lot of leagues you've been waiting or maybe just Not sure whether to deploy him this week. I think if you got him, then you start him.
All right. And now speaking of kind of the opposite here, you talk about Yuri Perez may not go 6 innings, but he's got the arm talent. How about a guy who maybe doesn't have the arm talent of Yuri Perez, but can certainly get you 6 innings because he's gone at least 6 innings in 4 of his last 5 starts and 6 of his last 8 starts. And that's Jeffrey Springs of the team with no city. Gets the Angels and the Royals. Now the Angels have been swinging a better bat lately. So little. It looks like on paper, yeah, great matchup, but they've been kind of hot at the dish lately. But the Royals don't scare me one bit there. And this is a guy who I feel like he's kind of like your solid option this week. Like you're not going to get a ton of strikeouts, but he probably won't kill you. There's always a chance for a quality start.
That's it. Not the most exciting pick on this list, but I think Springs is my kind of a dark horse 2-start streamer here. A guy that won't draw much attention. He's a boring veteran, but besides that, he hasn't been that great lately. And while he's mostly been solid, like most of his starts have been pretty good, those 2 or 3 times when he's bad, he's really bad, right? He makes up for it, right? By being really bad enough in those bad starts to offset the good starts, which is not what you want. But if you pick your spots wisely, he can do you some good. And here's one thing I've noticed with Springs, which is exactly what I said about Luis Severino for some reason, although ballpark, I guess, is the reason. Much better on the road.
Yeah.
Both of his starts this week are on the road at the Angels and at the Royals, and both not, hitter-friendly parks either. Jeffrey Springs has a 3.86 ERA on the road, 5.51 at home. 4-2 on the road, 1-2 at home. So 2 road starts. Again, not the high ceiling here, but I feel pretty safe rolling him out there.
All right, safe. There we go. We feel safe about Jeffrey Springs. How about Clark Schmidt? Do you feel safe about Clark Schmidt? Now, the good news for Clark Schmidt is he's on the Yankees, so always a chance to get a win. The bad news is he has not been great this year. He's posting a 4.04 ERA. He's only gone 6 innings in a little less than half his starts this year, but he does have 50 strikeouts in 49 innings. And he gets the Royals, which, again, great matchup in KC. Then he does get the Red Sox in Boston. They have definitely been a better hitting squad than they were earlier in the year. Clark Schmidt, how you feeling? Is this getting like desperation territory, or are we still feeling solid here?
No, I don't think so. I think he's still pretty solid. And actually, he would be higher on this list if the schedule were a little bit more favorable. You don't love at the Red Sox later in the week and at the Royals. Like I said, it's not – I mean, it's kind of tricky when I say it's not a hitter-friendly park. In terms of home run factor, it's one of the lower. But in terms of overall run factor, it's actually higher. And the Royals, they're getting better. Caglione finally had some hits today, and Bobby Witt actually hit a home run, but still, it's not a lineup that scares you per se. But the fact that in his case, both are road games, that doesn't mean as much as it does for a guy like Springs. Schmidt's a guy I think overall still, I feel like is a little bit undervalued. He will get you about a strikeout per inning, great chance for a win, like you said, and he was 1 out away, our favorite, right? 5 2/3 innings pitched, 1 out away from getting a 5th quality start out of his last 6 outings. I mean, he's pretty solid, and I feel like he's mostly a high floor pitcher. When he gets hit hard, he doesn't really get lit up too much. So I feel pretty good about Schmidt. Again, I don't love the matchups, but I also don't feel like it's that risky throwing him out there.
All right, and the final one here. This is last week's Yuri Perez, a guy who was coming back from an injury who hadn't pitched since 2023, Sawyer Gibson-Long. I remember we got a lot of questions about him last week. A lot of people were excited to pick him up, roll him out there, and if you did, that excitement is gone because he got absolutely rocked in that first game. Gave up 6 earned runs. Am I reading this right? No, sorry. Sorry, he gave up 3 earned runs in only 3 2/3 innings pitched, striking out 3 batters. So obviously coming off injury, they're not going to give him a long leash. Does he get a longer leash this week? And he gets the Orioles on the road, which is great. And then the Reds at home, which is really good because the Reds are like you don't want to stream against them when they're at home, but when they're on the road, it's like they can't hit. Like they're only a product of that ballpark. They're like the new Rockies. They can only hit at home. So is he better this week?
That's a pretty astute observation, and this is true. The Reds are kind of an all or nothing offense, right? Look, I said no to when we were asked last week about Gibson Long. I was like, no, I'm not putting him out there. No interest in his first start. I still think you can try him this week, but obviously he's going to be one of your lower options. Risky. I'm not going to say desperation. I mean, look, if you're desperate and you're like, I don't know who to stream, then maybe just don't pick anybody. Just do a one-start streamer. Just take a guy who you think won't murder your ratios. I don't think Gibson Long will do that, right? It was his first start, but this is not Yuri Perez. This is not a flame-throwing, 6'7", high-end prospect. He's barely a top 30 prospect for the Tigers, and he averages like 92 in his fastball, and he's all about location and command, and that takes time, right? He's not going to blow away hitters. The strikeout rate's not going to be super high. So the appeal here is if he can get it together and command his pitches, he could get you wins because he's on the Tigers. Tigers are pretty good, and the schedule here is not too bad, like you mentioned, Orioles and Reds. And he can maybe do you a solid with keeping their ratios pretty low. So it's still risky because we don't know exactly how he'll look second time out, but at least I feel now he's an option. Whereas, last week I think it's too soon.
All right. So there you go. There are your 2-start streamers for the week ahead. Of course, you're going to have questions about them, maybe some others. And of course, hitters as well, or maybe 1-start streamers or pitchers struggling, whatever. You got it. We're here to answer your questions. And of course, I got to let you know, if you're impatient or you're feeling generous, you just want to say thank you, like Benny here, you can drop that super chat, and that super chat will get you to the front of the line. So let's start it off with Benny. What's up, Benny? All right. So I think he's asking basically, this is his team. It's a 12-team league. This is his team. And he's asking, should he make trades or just sit tight? So he's got Augustin Ramirez, Tyler Soderstrom, Jeff McNeil, who had a nice week this week, O'Neal Cruz, Junior Caminero, Tucker, Fernando Tatis, Jackson Merrill, Shohei Ohtani, wow, Nick Kurtz, Roman Anthony, I assume, Garrett Crochet, Hunter Brown, Clay Holmes, Hayden Birdsong, Noah Cameron, Yuri Perez, Cade Horton. I'm surprised I know this many players' names. Andrew Painter, I believe, Ryan Nelson, yep. Spencer Arrighetti, Sean Manaea, Munoz. All right, there we go. What would you do if you had this team? Is this a team you feel good enough can take you to the championship, or do some moves need to be made here?
All right. So, and I see you down here. First of all, thank you, Benny. Appreciate you. And he's just probably in a good mood. He's feeling generous because he's about to beat me in our league, which is oddly, it's always kind of weird making a trade midweek with the team that you're playing that week. Yes. And I don't know if he knew something, but it worked to his advantage because I got Jesus Luzardo from him right before he got completely obliterated in his start. So good move, Benny. Look, this is a good squad. Probably if I would say weakness or room to improve, it would be, I don't know if I want to roll McNeil out there on a daily basis. I prefer him as kind of a bench bat. I mean, you've got a great outfield. You really can't possibly improve on that. And of course, having Ohtani is pretty good. It helps. I think Ramirez is fine. You might want to mix and match at catcher because he's not someone you can guarantee you will want to start every week. So really, catcher and second base is the only issue I would say you have. And again, those aren't major black holes. You're pitching. You've got aces. You got Brown. You got Crochet. I like Holmes. And you've definitely got some upside. And I like Arrighetti, Manaea being stashed. I mean, there's really no issues here. This is a typical 12-team. I mean, I only see one closer, one reliever with Munoz. So, but that's fine. It's head-to-head. You don't have to have a ton of saves in that format. So, I mean, I don't know. He's asking if I should make a trade for a stud pitcher. You've got a stud pitcher. You've got 2 stud pitchers. So no, I don't think I would shake this team up too much. The only thing you might want to do actually is you could trade a guy like Noah Cameron, who has been great, but is due for some regression and could get moved back to the minors. You never know. You could trade a guy like Noah Cameron along with maybe Yuri Perez, who's getting a lot of hype but has some risk, and try to get a more solid rotation piece. You know what I mean? Just alleviate some of that risk.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Benny, and congrats on taking down Pierre this week. I think it was last week or the week before you took me down, so well done.
Yeah.
All right, Harry with a question here. He's in a 12-team keeper league. You keep 4 players for 3 years. He traded away Vlad and got Julio. Do you think that's fair? And also, what should he look to get for Tatis if he was to move Tatis?
And only big boy moves here, right? Sort of first rounders. Keep 4 players for 3 years. Okay, Vlad for Julio. I mean, look, you're trading stud for stud. I will say I'm waiting kind of impatiently for Vlad to like kick it into the next gear, right? Like, come on, let's start crushing home runs, you know, on a daily basis. Let's start doing a little bit more, because the one league where I got him as my first pick, he's not really helping carrying my team. I'm waiting for Vlad to kick into the next gear. Julio, you know, is going to get you more steals, right? He'll help you in a different way than Vlad, but I feel like these guys, in terms of overall value, are kind of comparable for fantasy. I still think that Vlad has more. Like, I really, again, hoping second half he starts to look more like he did last year in terms of second halves. But I think it's fair. It's fine. What to look to get for Tatis? But so you're saying you have Tatis and you're going to trade him? Is that what's going on here? And then my question would be why? Like, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think he's saying if he was going to trade Tatis, what would be fair? But that's the thing I always think about, right? Like, when we get trade questions like on the Fantasy Football channel, it's like, you don't always have to trade somebody. You know, like,
Right.
if you have a really good player, sometimes you can just keep that guy.
I mean, how could you possibly trade away Tatis and say, I won that trade, I upgraded? Unless you're getting Judge or Ohtani or Witt, which you probably
Cal
aren't.
Raleigh? What if you got Cal Raleigh?
Oh, Cal Raleigh. Well, you know, but who would trade Cal Raleigh now?
Nobody in their right mind is trading Cal Raleigh.
No, I guarantee you all, before the end of this year, if Chris ever gets invested in a baseball jersey, it will be a Cal Raleigh jersey. That's his new favorite player ever.
Yeah. My only good draft pick this year, Cal Raleigh.
Big dumper. The fact that's his nickname just cements it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, the only way you could upgrade from Tatis realistically is if you get 2 players. And that's what I said before, is you're going to get a frontline pitcher. You know what? I'll say it right now, Garrett Crochet just came off of kind of disappointing start. It was the Yankees, right? But maybe you get Crochet and a good hitter. That's the only way I could think of is to upgrade. You would have to look for 2 players.
All right, there you go. Thank you, Harry. You ready for more trade questions? Beezy is in first place.
Nice.
In a 12-team categories league, and just traded Jackson Merrill and Jack Flaherty for Yordan Alvarez today. What are your thoughts on this?
Bold strategy, but it could pay off. It's tricky to do this right now because we don't really know what's going to go on with Yordan. I haven't heard anything in the last couple of days. The last thing I knew about Yordan was that the Astros were lying and not telling us, oh, by the way, he's got a broken hand. So this really comes down to the fact that you're going to have to wait now at least a couple of weeks, maybe several weeks, before you get the player that you traded for. You know, I know Jackson Merrill's been kind of cold, but I guess, look, if Yordan Alvarez is at least back before the All-Star break, I think this is fine.
All right. We'll see how it plays out for you. Shaking up the first place team.
Yeah.
Bold strategy. All right, we talked about Yuri Perez a little bit. Doyle wants to know, do you have confidence in him, and would you rather him or Brandon Woodruff?
Oh, easily over Brandon Woodruff. Brandon Woodruff's the guy. I will just say, I try to be nice, right? I try to be objective, but if I feel like somebody needs the overrated label slapped on him, I'll do it. I've been slapping Michael Harris with the overrated label this year. Brandon Woodruff, again, it's like as if he was like Spencer Strider coming back. People are like, oh, Woodruff, what has he done that we are stashing him here and there and everywhere, waiting for him to come back? Like he's fine. Like he might be a good back end option of your rotation, but and then setback and another setback and another. I'm not holding my breath for Brandon Woodruff. So absolutely Yuri over him. Is he going to come back and be good? I think so. I think he should be, but you're going to have to be patient. This is, remember, a very young pitcher who is still not proven at their major league level. So you're just going to have to understand there may be some flashes of really good, and may also be some flashes of rough time. So just be prepared for that. Just make sure you brace your ERA and your WHIP for that.
And then he also wants to know, speaking of a young pitcher, Casey Mize has been struggling since he came back from the IL. Should he be concerned, or do you still believe he'll bounce back?
Yeah, he's not been great overall. I'm lowering my projections on him for the rest of the season because especially also the strikeout stuff hasn't been as good as we want it to be, which has been an issue, obviously, since last year. But look, with Mize, I'm going to say keep an eye on him. I'm not giving up on him. Yeah, you should be somewhat concerned, especially when there's a player who comes back from the IL and still doesn't look as good, kind of like Bryce Miller. You got to wonder, right? Is there something else going on? So, yeah, I'm somewhat concerned, but I'm also not ruling out a bounce back.
All right, and then keep the pitcher talk going with Mr. Waking Up, Landon Roop. Is he worth holding in points leagues? You got to face the Dodgers next, but the Dodgers have been ice cold, man. What's going on with the Dodgers? His StatCast looks good, but he lacks the strikeouts. Would you take him or Luis L. Ortiz, who also has 2 starts this week? Reds and Mariners.
Yeah, Ortiz is one I considered putting on the list. He's just very risky. So I would rather have Ortiz this week because the schedule's okay. Ortiz is super risky because he also doesn't always keep the ball in the strike zone. The walks can do him in, but I think his strikeout stuff is a little bit better than Roop. With Roop, actually, it's funny. The only thing I feel like he's got going for him is that sometimes he will get strikeouts. Like, even though he'll only last 3 or 4 innings and he get hit, but he'll wind up with 5 or 6 strikeouts. And then the next time it's like, okay, he's got to pick and choose, right? Am I going to keep the ball in the infield or am I going to go for the strikeouts? So I'm not going to hold on to Roop in points leagues. I don't think he's there yet. Ortiz is risky too. I mean, you can't say he's not, but I'd rather have him.
All right, let's go to some hitter talk from back to back. Giancarlo Stanton. Is he worth the stash in 12-team points league? He's got Parker Meadows.
Oh no, I'm not going to really buy into Giancarlo Stanton. Like even if he's active, yeah. It's both his elbows. I think he's pretty close. Like we had a dust meter for baseball, this is a thing, or on the football channel. He'd be pretty high up there. I think he's done. And
crazy because he's only 35, but yeah,
his body's taken a toll. Nah, I see 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Yeah, I think he's going to hurt your batting average more than he's going to.
Weren't there some rumors that maybe he was actually older than he claimed? Or is that somebody else?
Stanton? I don't think Stanton. Might be somebody else.
Maybe it was Pujols. I don't remember. Was it Pujols?
Probably.
All right. Anyways, moving on. Tribal 979 has gotten another trade in a shallow league. Cody Bellinger for Riley Green, Ranger Suarez, and Tyler Mahle. Now, wait, hold on. Somebody values Cody Bellinger this highly? Like, this guy isn't that good. you gotta take the Riley Green side on this one, right? This is ridiculous. This guy acting like Cody Bellinger's Aaron Judge here.
I mean, I'm fine taking Riley Green straight up for Cody Bellinger, but you getting those two pitchers also? Is that? I mean, that's what I'm looking at, right? It's like a 1 for 3.
Yeah, Cody Bellinger's batting 262 with 9 home runs this year. Like, he's fine. He's one of those guys that's like fine.
Yeah,
This must be Cody Bellinger's son or something.
I don't mind Bellinger, but I'll take Green over him. You're getting those pitchers also? Take it.
Yeah, you got to take that one. All right, another trade question. I guess it's trade season. All right, Mason wants to know, he recently traded away Wilyer Abreu for Clay Holmes. What are your thoughts?
Excellent. The fact you're able to get Clay Holmes, excellent. Abreu is predictably slowing down. He still doesn't play a lot of times against left-handers. And in fact, I'm putting him back on tomorrow's video. Keep trade cut. I think it's getting close to time that you can just drop Abreu and not feel bad about it. So the fact that you got a solid pitcher for him, it's a great deal.
All right. Well done. All right. N6 RCS. All right. First, thank you. Appreciate it. Says he loves the content. Thank you for that. Okay. So we already covered Stanton. You know who's not worth adding. What about Adrian Hauser? 4 straight quality starts now. I picked him up to stream him this week. He did great. And now I'm like, maybe I shouldn't drop him. But someone dropped Jack Caglione because, of course, he's not hitting home runs immediately in the big leagues. So we're over that hype train. And he's got Hospital King, Olsen, Avella, Jordan out. So are you adding either of those guys or Cags? I guess is the question here.
All right. Stanton, no. Hauser, I mean, look, he's overachieving. Let's face it. Adrian Hauser, there's no surprise here about what Adrian Hauser is. He's not a guy who's going to really help your ERA or whip on the long term. And being with the White Sox not going to help you with really anything. He's an inning eater who doesn't really strike out a lot of guys. And so, no, I'm just going to say no. I'm not going to.
I will say he's got a revenge game versus the lowly Texas lineup next outing.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he's worthless. You can stream him in the right spots, right? If he faces a bad offense, sure. But just be ready for the other shoe to drop. Someone dropped Cags. Yeah, I'll pick up Cags. He'll hit a home run eventually. He actually went 4 for 4. That's a good sign. So yeah, I would say that. A team is a hospital. I know. That's welcome to fantasy baseball. But stay patient with these players, especially Jordan.
All right, Leo wants to know, catcher question, Sal Perez or Ivan Herrera rest of the season, who you got?
I mean, I think you could roll with Herrera and be fine, but I'm not going to put him over Sal. In fact, I think we had this exact debate last week, if I remember. Maybe it was Wednesday. Yeah, Sal's going to pick it up. Got the power advantage. Yeah, it's going to, if you had to pick one, I'd go Perez.
All right, and then Ilrus123, what's up? Welcome. Pitcher, who would you rather have between these pitchers? Ryan Pepio, David Peterson, or Jameson Taillon? Taillon, however you pronounce that name.
I'm going to go Pepio still, even though he's, you feel like he's due for another bad start. So is Peterson. He's overachieving on his stats. Taillon has been solid. I'm not just picking Pepio because he's the younger one here, but I think he's getting stronger as the season goes on. Feel better about his strikeout total than those other two. And the Rays are actually winning. You would say, well, the Cubs and the Mets, they're winning. Well, now all of a sudden the Rays are like the hottest team. So yeah, I'm going to go Pepio, but it's actually pretty close between all three of these. What I would honestly say is if you're talking about like waiver wire or, you can only keep one, pick your spots. If you can afford to just jump back and forth between these guys and stream them, I would do that.
All right. And then Adrian wants to know, is it time to give Sandy Alcantara a chance this week against the Pirates? He came through against Rocky Road, 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, only 4 strikeouts. We doing it? Are we doing it against the Pirates?
I've probably given Sandy too many chances, and then finally I'm like, man, this has just been so bad. But the Pirates are probably worse, right? The Pirates are who's worse here? Um, I've been saying to remain patient. This is more like a second half play, and we're not there yet. Yes, he did look better last start, and yes, this is a horrible offense. It's still not a slam dunk. So if if you can tolerate the potential for a blow up, then you can give him a chance.
All right, there we go. And then AsCat saying, "What's up from London? Good to have you here."
What's up?
James with a good question. Is it time to sell starting pitcher Chris Bubich with concern for season innings, like his innings getting limited as the season goes on? Kind of like what we saw with Garrett Crochet last year.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. Actually, it's a fair question. I had said to sell high in Bubich a while ago, and it just seems like he's going to keep it going. And this is a legit breakout. This is not the same as Crochet because you got to remember, before last year, Garrett Crochet was never in his life a starter. Okay, maybe he was in little league or high school or something, but never at the pro level. He was not he was a relief pitcher. He had injuries. He missed so much time. He never pitched anything close to the innings he had pitched last year. Bubich has been a starter, right? So yeah, coming off injury, but he's done this before. And the Royals, based on last year, they still fancy themselves a contender. So I'm not going to worry about this with Bubich. Like, could you sell high because you feel like regression is coming and you can get somebody more solid instead? Yeah, sure. I would always say that. But I'm not going to worry too much about innings with him.
All right. And then Good Joe wants to know, going forward, who do you prefer, CES, Nick Kurtz, or Cags?
Ooh, good Joe. Good question. All right. So similar profiles here. You're going pure slugger. Look, I know CES is having a nice comeback off the IL, but I'm going to put him last on this list because he is more, out of all of these guys, I think he's the most all or nothing, right? Either he's having a monster game or he's going 0 for 4. There's not going to be much in between. He's going deep or he's going nowhere. Kurtz has that same power upside, but I feel like he offers more all around, and he's about to come back. Cags is the wild card. I will say overall, I mean, I think I can see Kurtz being the most valuable. But if you're asking me, because you're asking me who do I prefer, I prefer Kurtz. If you're asking me who I would hold right now, if I could only hold one of these three, I will hold Cags because I think he's going to have more value if he does get hot, right? And you can always trade him. Or look, maybe he is just rookie of the year and you got the rookie of the year on your squad. Kurtz and Caglione are going to be very similar. But I mean, we've at least seen that Kurtz hit a home run in the majors, and we're still waiting on Caglione. I think he will. I think he'll be fine. But I'm going to say I prefer Kurtz.
All right. I almost don't want to put this one up. I feel bad for you on this one. Are you ready to talk about Joe Adell? Are you ready to talk about Joe Adell? K rate going down. StatCast looks good. In the month of June, he's got 4 home runs. He's got a 3-hit game, a 2-hit game. He scored, of course, a bunch of runs because the Angels somehow are scoring a bunch of runs. He's got RBIs, not striking out as much. In fact, he had prior to today, it had 4 straight games without a strikeout. That seems almost impossible.
Yeah.
All right. But the question is, are we falling for this? Are we doing it? Are we putting Joe Adell back on our fantasy teams?
I don't know if it's a coincidence. He's also in the Angels. He's like the Griffin Canning of offense for me. The guy I was way, way too into coming up in his first couple of years in the leagues. And then finally, I just had to let it go. It's heartbreaking. I just had to give up. I was like, this is going to be the first year I don't draft Joe Adell. So is it finally time that he's breaking out? You know what? I need to see more than just a week. Because what has he done? He's had a monster game, right? A 2-homer game, and then another 2-homer game. But this is what he's going to be. It's just like what I just said with CES. It's all or nothing. right? Feast or famine. Now, if he hits 4 homers in a week and it came all in 2 games, you don't care when it came, right? He still gets you 4 home runs. But I don't want to be suckered into this. I'm not gonna do this. No, I think he's having a good week. I need to see it for a longer stretch. Now, look, if you want to pick him up and stream him right now while he's hot, absolutely. I will tell you that about any player. But yeah, I don't think I can say he's breaking out yet.
All right. What about Ronnie Mauricio? Got off to a slow start, but had a very nice weekend. Should be noted, they were in Colorado, but got a hit in every single game, hit a home run, took his average from 083, which isn't saying much because, took his average from 0 to 263, I should say. So is this for real, or is it just, he got to play in Colorado this weekend?
No, I mean, look at you look at it and you're like, wow, he played the Dodgers twice, didn't get a hit, and then he played the Rockies 3 times, and he was getting mad hits. But I see it also as his very first 2 games back with the Mets after missing more than a year, or he didn't do anything, and then he's now got his groove back. Yeah, playing the Rockies did help, but still, I'm big on Mauricio. He's another one I'm probably going to fall too hard for, but I love Ronnie Mauricio. He's got all the tools. He's got power. He's got speed. We know the time that we saw him, the end of 2023, he was stealing bases. He didn't really flex the power then, but again, this was his first chance in the majors, and he's got that in him. He's really got everything, and I love that he plays multiple positions. So my only question, as I talked about in the waiver wire video, is he going to get enough playing time? Right? Where are they going to put him? If he hits, they'll find a place to put him. This is a high-end prospect that I absolutely could put it together. Sure, he'll also have some times where he goes 0 for 4 with 2 or 3 strikeouts, but I think he makes up for it. I feel better about his plate discipline than, say, Joe Adele. So, yeah, I love me some Ronnie Mauricio. I would absolutely grab him, as I talked about on the waiver wire, if you can.
All right, and then we got a super chat from Taylor Green. Thank you. So it looks like he made a trade. Mick Abel, Gerardo Perdomo, and Jung-Hoo Lee for Logan Webb, Adolis Garcia, and Corey Seager. So the 2 struggling Texas Rangers batters. I guess rate it. I don't know.
I like it. If you got the website, look, you traded a up and coming pitcher who has looked good, but is not guaranteed A, to stay in the rotation, B, to be that good the rest of the season. The best case scenario, what's the best case scenario for Mick Abel the rest of the season? Is that he puts up numbers like Logan Webb. So you got a pretty legit ace for a maybe, potential future ace. And then I know Adolis Garcia. I finally dropped Adolis Garcia. I was trying to hold out, stay optimistic. Gotta just. I'm kind of ready to just not be optimistic about the Rangers anymore. Now, Corey Seager, I think we can give the benefit of the doubt. Getting Corey Seager, I think this is a good move. I will still gladly take Corey Seager over Perdomo the rest of the season. Perdomo's been solid. Perdomo's fine. I think you won this deal with Webb alone, and I still prefer Seager to Perdomo. Adolis Garcia, we'll see. But yeah, I like this deal overall for you.
All right, well done. All right, Uwe2K wants to know, when Nick Kurtz coming off IL, who does he drop? And maybe CES. I guess he could pick up CES potentially. So he's got Chase Mydroth, TJ Friedel, Gavin Sheets, or Luis Arias in head-to-head categories. So who are you dropping here, if any?
Drop Mydroth. I think I still told you this last week. You can still drop him. Drop Mydroth, and I still like Sheets. I would keep Sheets. Not, Luis Arias. He's always going to get you a good amount of singles. I guess you could drop Mydroth and Friedel for Kurtz and CES.
All right. And then he also wants to know, would you drop Hayden Birdsong or Tyler Mahle for Lance McCullers?
I would. I think you got to pick up McCullers these days. You can drop Birdsong. I still like Birdsong, but I like McCullers more.
All right, then let's go. Giants wants to know, would you drop Gavin Williams or Taj Bradley or Cade Horton? I guess he's got to drop one of these guys maybe to make room for somebody.
Yeah, Taj Bradley finally had one of those games, right? And that's exactly what Taj Bradley does. He'll look great for 3, 4 starts, and then he'll make up for it. That's what he does. But because of that, I'll say he got it out of his system. He got that bad game out of the way. I still like Taj Bradley going forward. I'm going to keep him. And I still would give the benefit of the doubt to Gavin Williams to see if this breakout is legit. So right now, if you have to pick, I'll drop Horton.
All right. And then Luis Correa, what's up? He drafted Mason Wynn, but picked up Willie Adames almost 2 months ago. But Adames has been horrid. Everyone's been fading him. Is he even worth a bench spot right now?
Why keep a guy on the bench if you're not going to play him? What is he going to do for you? I just pick up somebody else who has more upside.
All right. Easy one there. Austin, what's up? Wants to know, is Bryce Miller worth hanging on to?
That's the $1 million question. And I am going to add Bryce Miller to tomorrow's video. I want to know myself, am I just fooling myself? This is probably one of the biggest, not just one of the biggest disappointments, because it's not like he was a first round pick or anything, but I think one of the most shocking busts, because this seems like it came out of nowhere. And we finally saw George Kirby look like George Kirby today. Are we going to see Bryce Miller ever look like anything what he did last year? I got to think there's something physical still bothering him. I don't know what's the deal. I really am going to probably dig into it a little bit more tonight, and I'll hopefully have an answer for you for tomorrow's video.
All right, there we go. And then Jeff wants to know, would you take Jack Leader over Derek May? I'm guessing, is that Dustin May? Dodgers? Probably. Grant Holmes or Yuri Perez? And then he heard from another podcast. What are you doing watching another podcast? No, I'm just kidding. I hear from another podcast that Logan Henderson is going to be a backup this week. Is that true?
I haven't heard anything about Logan Henderson coming back. It's always possible, but I don't have anything concrete to back that up. So it seems like what they're doing, and a lot of teams do this to preserve a player, not only service time, but also their innings under their arm. They'll just keep them down whenever possible. There are no obvious injuries or openings in the rotation right now, so I'm not sure why he would come back up, but it's possible. Would I take Jack Ladder over Dustin May, Grant Holmes, or Yuri Perez? I would take him over the first two, but I think I would still go Perez, especially because this week Perez has a really nice couple of matchups. Jack Leiter, I think in one site has him listed as 2-start streamer, but I don't think he's getting 2 starts this week because his first start is not projected to be until Wednesday. So Jack Leiter is going to have a pretty good chance to win his first start this week because I think he gets a pretty soft opponent. Was it the White Sox or somebody? But I'm going to prefer Perez.
All right. Thank you for that. And then Luis Cabrera wants to know, Bubba Chandler, is he an ad?
Think it might be time. Okay, well, it's been time, right? We added him like a month ago, and we've heard nothing, and nothing's happened. But like, if he's out there and you're going to add him, you might as well do it now because it's going to be too late otherwise. And it can't be too much longer, can it? Can it really be too much longer? I know somebody said that Andrew Haney might have an injury that I don't know. That means he's going to be on the IL. It was like cramping or something. So I'm not going to assume anything, but yes, I would stash him just so you can have him when the time is right.
All right. Taylor Green with another one wants to know, I guess, got to drop one of these guys, Ryan Weathers, Zebby Matthews, or Noah Cameron.
Well, you can drop Zebby because he's on the IL now. In fact, he was going to be on the list. He actually had a nice 2 starts coming up this week, but he is apparently injured. So I guess you can drop him.
There you go. That was easy. All right. A, what's up, A? He's enjoying the ride with David Peterson, but is now the time to try to trade him? Can you keep it up?
It is. Mentioned this a little earlier. He's solid, right? He's always somebody who can give you a quality start, give you a good start, and it's a little well, maybe not smoke and mirrors, but he's overachieving a little bit. He's not going to keep his ERA quite this low all year. I know he did it last year. It was pretty close to this, but still, I feel like he's due for a bad start. His expected ERA is like a run higher than his actual ERA. He doesn't get you a lot of strikeouts. He's a solid streaming option always. If you can trade him for something, that's fine. I mean, it just make sure you get something that's better. But am I going to be able to buy low on like a Bryce Miller or somebody like that? Absolutely, I would do that.
All right, then AsCat says he's in a 10-team, 9 categories league. He's got Eugenio Suarez at third base, C.J. Abrams, Stephen Kwan in the utility, Willie Castro, Wyatt Langford, and Michael Harris on the bench. Is Max Muncy worth an ad? And if so, who are you dropping for?
Yeah, I can add Muncy over Castro. Castro's had a couple of nice games, but the big appeal for Castro is that he qualifies at basically every single position other than catcher. You're in a 10-team league, and you obviously, if Max Muncy's just out there on the waivers, you don't need to worry about that. In your situation, I'll drop Castro for Muncy.
All right, and then Austin wants to know, is it time to sell high on torque if you got Cags?
It's a little early to assume that you can just start Cags rest of the season. So I wouldn't do that. And I actually think Torque, what he's doing is pretty legit. Now, that said, you know what you're getting is you're going to get home runs, you're going to get RBIs. The batting average will be just okay. It's fine. If he winds up with 30 homers a season, it's worth it. So I wouldn't sell just yet.
All right. And then Dylan saying Yuri Perez on his IL, on the IL. So pitchers he can drop are Ryan Weathers, Chris Brubich, Sonny Gray, Shane Smith, Tyler Mahle. I'm guessing not going to drop Tariq Skubal, but maybe. I mean, maybe. You never know. You never know how you're feeling. I got Devin Williams joined around, Ryan Helsley, and Emmanuel Clase as his relievers. So who are you dropping here to make room for Yuri?
The only ones you really could consider dropping are Weathers or Smith. And between the two, I think just because of the potential concussion or whatever he's got with Weathers, so stupid. It's such a stupid thing, but it happens, I guess. I think you can drop Weathers for Yuri.
All right, there you go. Don't drop Skubal, please. All right, Michael Phillips. He said he's been holding out hope, but is Bailey Ober finally droppable? On the waiver wire, you got guys like Jesus Luzardo, who I'm not sure if he's still intriguing, maybe. Seth Lugo, Yuri Perez, and Lance McCullers. So are you dropping Bailey Ober for any of these guys?
Wow. Well, I was going to say no, but looking at these options, look, Ober is not exactly on a roll, right? And he'll do this. He'll be solid, and he'll have a really bad start that'll kind of make up for everything. But overall, I think he is fine. He's going to be solid. Now, do you have more upside here potentially on the waiver wire? You do. But is this the time to pick up Jesus Luzardo? No, it's not. I think you can pick up McCullers. I feel good enough about him this week where you can say, okay, I'm going to go for the upside. I'm going to go McCullers. And then if Luzardo actually gets back to being good, you can pick him up. Or B, if McCullers it winds up falling back hard down to earth, you can drop him for any one of these guys. So generally speaking, I'm not just dropping Ober, but I think in your case, I'm dropping him for McCullers and keeping a very close eye on Luzardo and Yuri Perez.
All right. And then Ethan, I know you talked about this a little bit earlier, but in case you missed it, how do you feel about Luis Ortiz as a 2-starter this week?
Yeah, barely missed a cut here for my list. I think he can be a viable 2-start streamer in a deep enough league. Again, you just know the risk to your whip. He tends to get erratic, so he can strike out some batters. He can also walk some batters. He's feast or famine. So he's a risky option, but he's an option.
All right. And then another one from F about activating Yuri Perez. Are you going to drop Will Warren or Gavin Williams to make room for Yuri, or neither?
Yeah, I think you've been stashing Yuri Perez. You're going to want to activate him. And I think between those two, again, I'll still give the benefit of the doubt to Gavin Williams. Will Warren has been mostly good until lately, but again, the lately is his last 2 starts. So there's no guarantee he turns it around. I'll drop Will Warren.
All right. And then back to Luis, who's saying his roommate randomly dropped Ohtani, But the pitcher, Ohtani,
Okay.
not the batter. Not the batter. Okay, let's everybody calm down. It's the pitcher, Ohtani, who somebody dropped in our league, and I stashed him on my IL just in case. So is he worth a waiver priority? So you'd have to use your waiver priority on him, not like our league where you can just pick him up and no big deal.
Right. If it's the number 1 or even 2 priority, no, because we're not going to see him pitch real soon. And if we do see him pitch anytime soon, it's going to be every 6th or 7th day. And they're not going to let him go very deep. So if you want to stash him, for the future, meaning the second half of the season, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not going to use my waiver priority for it.
All right. And then B-Rad, I have a question. How do you still have Brandon Pfaadt on your roster? But the second question is, if you somehow still have Brandon Pfaadt on your roster, are you taking a chance this week against Seattle?
No.
How many home runs is Cal Raleigh going to hit off of Brandon Pfaadt?
Exactly.
Actually, the answer is 1 because Brandon Pfaadt isn't even going to get through the entire Mariners lineup twice.
That's a good point. You can only give up so many home runs. I said a week ago, it's just time to move on from Pfaadt. You can cut him. You can still cut him. You still should cut him. It doesn't mean he's dead in the water the rest of the season, but until something changes drastically, you can't take this risk.
All right. Another one of my hitters that is just ice cold right now. Ian Happ. Is he just having a bad year? Do we see a hot streak coming from him? The other day he had a nice game. It was like 3 for 4 with a home run. I was like, all right, here we go. And then back to being terrible. What are we doing? What's the deal with Ian Happ? What are we doing?
Ian Happ is one of these players who does this. He's fairly streaky. And, by the end of the year, he always winds up with almost the same numbers. You're like, again, like when did that happen? I don't remember him hitting home runs. Because he never really puts together any sort of super noticeable hot streaks. And the cold streaks are bad, but again, it's not like to the extreme. He's just doing what Ian Happ does. I think he'll be fine. I do see him heating up. I think he'll get better. I don't know what you would trade him for. Like, honestly, what are you going to get for him? Probably not much.
Yeah. I thought about. I'm like, what am I even going to get for Ian Happ right now?
Yeah,
a streaming pitcher or something. Like, nah, I'm good. I'll just hold on to Ian Happ. All right, Durf Boy, what's up? So someone dropped Raisel Iglesias. Is he worth a waiver claim?
I don't even know anymore. Again, you hate to write off a player who's been pretty dependable and consistent for the last few years. Just like he's one of those closers who feels safe. But guess what? That's what I said about Camilo Doval last year. This happens. This happens with closers. Sometimes just have one of those years. And I think it's pretty obvious the Braves are tired of him because even though the Kimbrel thing was really weird and lasted like one day, they just passed him over for a save chance. The only thing that keeps him maybe viable is the fact that they really have no other options that are good. Because Pierce Johnson also blew a save, and he's never been able to hold down the 9th inning job. They just really don't have anybody else. I feel like the Braves almost have to trade for a closer before the deadline. But I don't think Iglesias is worth a waiver claim. Not right now.
All right, then Ilross123 wants to know Jake Meyer, Sal Frelick, or Otto Lopez for steals. He's got Andres Jimenez, but he's not been playing well.
I'm going to go Frelick because even though he hasn't stolen a lot lately, he's on the team that likes to run the most. The Brewers have that stolen base upside. I think I would put Meyer second, but yeah, I'll go Frelick. At the very least, even if he's not getting you as many steals, he'll hit for average.
All right, there we go. And then V-Rush wants to know, is it time to drop Ryan Weathers in leagues with quality starts but no wins?
Yeah, he's not a must-hold. Again, I still like Weathers overall. He's just had a rough go of things this season, right? He just can't catch a break. He's one of those players. So let's wait. Let's wait until we see him back in a flow, right, in a groove. It's just hard when a player, his season gets disrupted, by an injury and then another injury, and it's just hard for them to put it together. So, yeah, you can drop him.
All right, and then Papa Giorgio wants to know, is there too much hype on Ryan O'Hearn? He's looking to drop for someone better.
I mean, if there's hype around him, then yes, there's too much. He's not a player I think deserves hype. He's been solid, but again, he is what he is. He can hit for average. He's got some power, but he's not going to be an everyday player there. He's also a guy who can go through hot streaks and then he'll cool off. So yeah, you can drop him. I'm not. He's not somebody I feel like you have to hold. He's like a solid streamer when he's going good.
And then Mason wants to know he's got Shota Minaga, Reese Olson, Luis Gill, and Michael King all on the IL. Needs pitching depth ASAP. Do you wait it out or do you trade one of these guys, I guess, and try to get somebody who's actually healthy?
Well, let's see. So Luis Gill, I'm not going to have much expectation for real soon. I don't think you'll get anything for him. Reese Olson, I don't think is going to be out too much longer, but he's not a guy who really is going to carry your staff per se. I would hold on Imanaga and King. I think when they come back, you're going to want to have them. So I would just be patient there. I don't think you can sell Olson or Gill. So I think you're just going to have to be patient and just make some smart streaming options here on the waiver wire. Just pick up some players who can help you in the short term until they come back.
All right, there you go. Thank you for that. Good luck. And then Uwe2K, who's the better relief pitcher ad? Vest, who's been awesome, Palencia, Bautista, or Tanner Scott? You can always tell when I have somebody by I actually say something about them.
Yeah. Vest has been awesome, but he's not the only closer there. Palencia is the guy right now. I'm going to go Palencia. He's red hot. He's looking great. He's one of the best teams to get saves. So I'm going to go Palencia.
All right. And then from Nick wants to know if do you think Chandler Simpson will get called up again?
Yeah, he'll come back up. He wasn't bad. I mean, I know a lot of people were shocked. They're like, look at his batting average. He's getting steals. He plays good defense. Well, those defense actually wasn't as good as you would think it would be. And the batting average was a little shallow because not getting extra base hits. Anyways, he'll get called up probably again in another couple of weeks or so. So I don't think he's a guy you have to stash because, again, as far as fantasy goes, he's only helping you with batting average and steals.
All right. And then we'll end with this because we're just past the hour mark. F just wants to thank the Endgame crew, which is pretty much like 95% Pierre, for putting out banger videos so far this season. They've been frequent and informative. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for being here on the live streams with us, because if it wasn't for all of you, we couldn't be putting out these banger videos. I mean, I guess we could, but no one would be watching them. So what would be the point? So thank you to all of you for being here and giving us the opportunity to do this. We appreciate you. And don't forget, we will be back here Wednesday to get you caught up on the week that is so far, right? Back on Wednesday. Is that confirmed? Yes, Wednesday. Okay, we're back on Wednesday. Just want to make sure you never know with schedules. We got lives. We got lives outside of this. So sometimes, we have to move it around a little bit. We'll be back here on Wednesday to get you caught up on the week that is going on, get you ready for the rest of the week ahead. And of course, speaking of those banger videos, we got Panic or Keep Cut coming out tomorrow. Beat the Breakout, which has identified a ton of guys that are helping you in fantasy already this year, and we'll identify many more. And of course, Buy Low coming out before we even get back on here Wednesday. So thank you everybody for being here. Appreciate you all as always. And if you haven't already, if you're checking it out for the first time and you're like, I like this, guys, hit that subscribe button, click that bell notification so you know exactly when we go live. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everybody. We'll be back here and see you on Wednesday.